Despite having however much money Donald Trump claims to have, his actual business acumen has long been debated.
When I saw Trump, I mean, come on, the guy's a genius.
Yeah.
You know, media goes around telling us that he's stupid.
Right.
He's an idiot.
Right.
The guy's a genius. I mean, look what he did with his construction companies and stuff, you know?
Well, he did go bankrupt a couple times.
He did.
Is there a world where a businessman can still call himself a good businessman after bankrupting several companies, including a casino? Would he have had more money now if he had just invested those millions of dollars he had received from his father so many decades ago? Have his business successes been just the result of trying a million things until one of them sticks? And who is Trump actually indebted and beholden to? All good questions that the public will likely never reach a consensus on. His supporters are convinced he's a genius, which to them is basically the same thing as a well-connected and well-funded Nepo baby. His boisterous and combative public persona is really just a front for his actually generous and compassionate nature. He has to appear terrible in order to get what he wants, and what he really wants is for all Americans to be happy, healthy, and paid. It's all just strategic, brilliant, genius marketing. And for the rest of us who don't see it, it's because we don't get his level of genius. But you know who else doesn't seem to get it? The Wall Street Journal, which is owned by right-wing media tycoon Rupert Murdoch. In a recent article, the Journal asks whether or not Trump even understands how money works. For a billionaire, businessman, and now politician, this is an embarrassing question to be asked of Trump. When will the fake news media, owned by Rupert Murdoch, ever let this man live? When will he ever get to stop defending his legacy from Rupert Murdoch? What more does he need to do to prove to Rupert Murdoch that he really is as cool and as good as all those other billionaires, like Rupert Murdoch? Okay, I'm being a little facetious. Rupert Murdoch didn't write the article, and I doubt he's directly involved in every editorial decision that the Journal makes. Still, the publication does tend to be more right-leaning, and Trump criticism isn't as readily found in the Journal as it is elsewhere. But the Wall Street Journal likes money, and right now, Trump is bad for money. Last week, Trump put his bombshell tariff plan on hold for a month after the stock market negatively responded. Apparently, Trump didn't roll back the tariffs because they had bad economic consequences, though. Besides, it's reasonable to expect market fluctuations whenever a president takes dramatic economic action, like imposing tariffs on allied nations. He was just using the tariff threat as a bargaining tool all along, even though it seems the countries he threatened didn't even concede to very much in exchange for the tariffs temporarily going away. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, for example, agreed to put troops on her side of the border, but she also made Trump commit to prevent weapons trafficking from the U.S. into Mexico. Canada also agreed to put troops at their border, but it seems they'll be unwilling or unable to avoid tariffs completely next month. But on Tuesday, consumer price inflation in the U.S. rose to 3%. In response, Trump posted on Truth Social that interest rates should now be lowered to go hand in hand with upcoming tariffs, and that's with 3 exclamation points. So the Wall Street Journal asked, does he even know how this stuff works? Trump's approval is tied handily to inflation. A significant chunk of American voters voted for the opposition party back in November because the price of eggs was too high. Americans want less inflation. They don't care how it happens or who does it. They just want it gone. First, the Journal suggested perhaps the president wants the public to look elsewhere when assigning blame for rising prices. Yes, he absolutely wants that to happen. The article mentions Trump's layers of intellectual confusion before saying, rising inflation means the Fed must be more cautious in cutting rates. He has the analysis backward if he's trying to blame the Federal Reserve. The Fed is independent from the federal government, or it's supposed to be. Trump doesn't like when he doesn't have control over things, so in the past, he has threatened to fire Jerome Powell if he's not happy with what Powell's doing over at the Fed. But to the point that Americans really only seem to care about inflation these days, the Journal wrote, the last thing Mr. Trump should be doing now is demanding that Mr. Powell cut rates further. An inflation revival may be the biggest threat to the Trump presidency. Real average earnings are flat over the last 3 months. If this persists, Mr. Trump won't have a 53% job approval rating for long. Some like to think that Trump is completely in control of his presidency and his economic policy, But it seems evident that there are so many other more influential and more intelligent people pulling strings around him. The obvious one is Elon Musk, but Trump is also engaging in conversations with people like Vladimir Putin. The authors of Project 2025 handed him a playbook for how his second term as president was to go, and so far he seems to be following that playbook. So maybe he doesn't really know what he's talking about, or maybe he actually does. Either way, it's not really his job to know. His job is to occupy the office of the presidency so that the president won't be a hindrance to the work and goals of so many others. He's meant to be a chaos agent. He's meant to be a celebrity with a loyal and therefore pacified fandom. But the things he says and does still move markets and industries and institutions because he is the president. We'll keep an eye on the tariff situation, but in the meantime, good luck at the grocery store. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.